and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, intuitive tarot reader, and professional witch. And today I'm talking about what we learned in 2025 using the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created in January of 2025. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. And if you are listening to this right now and you would like to check out the video podcast, you can check out my YouTube channel, Camille A. Saunders, at youtube.com or youtube.com/Camille A. Saunders, or you can look on Spotify or perhaps in your own podcast app if they offer video to check it out there. And yeah, just on Spotify, look up Everyday Tarot and you can find the video episode there. You can get my free 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, my lovely listeners, at the beginning of this year by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. And this is the spread that I'm talking about today. So you can go grab the PDF for it now if you would like to look at the prompts yourself with your eyeballs as I talk about it. But that is where to find that, and I will most likely be creating a new tarot spread for 2026. So I have opened the podcast up to have guests on, as you may have heard this season and seen, since now we have video episodes. And if you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit, please fill out my form to be a guest on the podcast, and I will reach out. If you're local and you want to meet me in person, you can join me for our next New Year Full Moon Healing Circle on January 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. Step into the new year under the light of the first full moon, a sacred time for reflection, release, and renewal. As we enter 2026, the full moon invites us to pause and honor the turning of the cycle, to let go of what no longer serves us and create space for what's ready to bloom. Together, we'll reflect on the lessons of the past year, clear stagnant energy, and set powerful intentions for the year ahead. We meet at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma from 2 to 4 p.m. Tickets for our January 3rd event are up now, and we would love to see you there. You can find links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. All right, well, welcome to season 20, where I'm talking with guests about their experiences and interest in working with tarot, and I'm talking about what's next for the podcast. If you haven't listened to the other seasons yet, you can check those out. And today, like I said, we're on to season 20, where I'm talking to guests and talking about what's next. And today, we're talking about what we learned in 2025. So, in the first episode of the podcast on January 1st, came out on 2025, I talked through a 5-card tarot spread I created for this year. That's what I'm talking about, where you can grab the PDF now if you want to do it for yourself. So today, I'm talking about the prompts that I came up with. So if you listen to that first episode, I talk about the cards I pulled to create the prompts, and then you can use the prompts to pull your own cards. So today, I'm going to use the prompts I created. So you can check out yesterday's episode as well if you want to hear my sort of review on the cards. And then today I'm talking using the prompts just like you would as the listener and pulling cards to share what we learned in 2025. So, like I said, if you'd rather look at the tarot spread in your own time or see it visually, have a copy of it, you can sign up for my newsletter where I have a downloadable PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread prompts for you. And again, just to avoid any confusion, in the first episode, I pulled my own 5 cards to inform the tarot spread prompts I created for you. So at home, you can either journal on the prompts or pull your own tarot cards to see what unfolded in 2025, and I'm going to be doing the same today. I'm going to be putting myself in your shoes, and we are going to be looking back at 2025 since we're nearly there to 2026. But I'm going to be using my own prompts and pulling cards to see kind of, yeah, just what kind of reflection we can come up with. And hopefully this makes sense and is not like wildly confusing. If you want to hear where I got the prompts from, you can check out yesterday's episode or the January 1st episode from 2025 to hear my initial, yeah, kind of the way I created the prompt. Okay, so we are going to be pulling 5 cards using the 5 prompts that I talked about. I'm pulling here from the Seasons of the Witch. Sorry, I gotta find my video here. Seasons of the Witch, Samhain Oracle. Sorry, I bumped the mic. Here we go. And it is illustrated by Giada Rose and created by Lorraine Anderson and Juliet Diaz. Alrighty here. Let's see. So I'm going to be using the prompts, like I said, pulling 5 cards, and we're going to see if we can glean what we learned in 2025. So, okay, I'm splitting my deck. I shuffled. I'm going in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all cards I get very often. It's funny. Okay, so with the first prompt, what are you refusing to see an alternative to? Where do you need to trust the process and allow for some flexibility in your usual ways? So I pulled the frog card here, and it says, "May the lily beneath your breast allow you to drink from its healing waters. Be still, for there is serenity behind the drowning croaks." So I know this card pretty well because, like I said, I keep pulling it. So they talk about, I'll read a bit, but they talk about that we often think of the butterfly as the symbol for transformation, but also frogs transform and in a more fluid way, actually. And so this card is all about, it says, "Let us not forget, frogs are also a symbol of transformation, going from a tadpole that lives in water to a frog that adapts to land and water. For some species, the process takes a couple of weeks, and for others, it can take months or even a year to transform from one thing to another. When frog comes croaking, know that you are transforming or the process will begin soon." This is a positive transformation, not the sort of dramatic one might expect with a different card, the Banshee card. This transformation is easygoing, so much that you may not even know it is happening. It's a subtle shift that occurs in the background until one day you realize things are different. There's nothing you need to do to move the change along. Like the frog, your higher self will take over and guide you through instinct. You need to only pay attention to the urges you feel and follow those urges when they strike. Be patient and note that this transformation has come to your awareness. It's not something that can be rushed or forced, so that message keeps coming through. Like the frog, the transformation may take days, weeks, maybe even a year or two to transform completely. All unfolds in accordance with your divine destiny. So when we think about the prompt, what are you refusing to see an alternative to, and where do you need to trust the process and allow for some flexibility in your usual ways, is that we are mid-transformation. Like it says, right, it may take days, weeks, maybe even a year or two. So when I think of looking back at 2025, I think for a lot of folks that kicked off our journey to transformation. Now, this talks about sort of a fluid transition, right? Like, but that the positive transformation, easygoing, so much so that you might not even know what's happening. And I do think that when I look back on 2025, that is what I see. I'm like, oh, there's a transformation happening. And now I can see it. And I don't think I'm necessarily done, but I think that I had been in the prior years, maybe from 2022 to early 2025, trying to really force transformation or forcing processes, kind of refusing to see that things take time and just kind of really like pushing. And I felt like this year in 2025, I felt like all the things that I was really interested in doing, that I was really hoping for, I allowed that, I put in the effort and the time to do it. And I trusted the process. I applied for things that I needed to. I did proposals for presentations, and I got them. I got everything that I wanted, basically. Um, or most things that I wanted. And so I think that when I look back on this year, and perhaps for yourself too, and maybe at the beginning there was a refusal to see that we were maybe still in our tadpole stage, or we were starting to, get some legs, but it just didn't feel fast enough. And that over the last year, I'm realizing like, oh yeah, like things have been maturing. Like some things feel really easy now. Doing the podcast where I'm like, yep, I've been doing it, putting out episodes 5 days a week. Like, I'm pretty used to it now. Like I said, I'll be talking about what to look forward to in 2026 with regards to the podcast and upcoming episodes. But that's what I really feel is like, okay, I did this process. I did all these things I needed to do. And there was flexibility, right? Like, even with the presentations, I wanted to get paid for a presentation. I wanted to travel for work, and I was able to do those things. Maybe they didn't happen as fast as I wanted them to, or as completely, or in this particular way, but they did come to fruition. And so that's what I think about with this card. So for prompt 2, it says, what are you just feeling disillusioned by? What fears come up for you when you think about not getting what you want? And the card I pulled is Journey reversed here. So here's the upright, but I pulled it in reverse. And it says, daughters of our mother, walkers of the unknown, take with you on this journey all that you own. So we will be looking up Journey reversed. This deck is arranged alphabetically, which is very nice. So I'm over here singing the alphabet. H-I-J. Here we go. Okay. So journey upright is about discovery, lessons, purpose, right? Like we see in this card, a person kind of at the beginning of a road looking forward on their journey. And so in reverse, it says, when journey comes to you in reverse, it's because you were turning away from your path. You're engaging in self-sabotage even though you may not be consciously aware of it. Self-sabotage can manifest in hanging on to someone longer than is necessary. It can also manifest in behaviors such as indulgence, judgment, procrastination, fear, false humility, or feelings of shame and guilt. Every time you engage in these behaviors, you step further away from who you're truly meant to be. If you find yourself in similar circumstances repeatedly, it is because you were choosing to ignore lessons that need to be learned. Trust in great spirit and accept what needs to be let go. Otherwise, the weight could become so great that you can no longer move along your journey at all. So I would say right in line with that frog card. So when we think about the prompt, what are you feeling disillusioned by? What fears come up for you when you think about not getting what you want? Right? I think sometimes when we really want something and we're almost like so afraid it's not going to happen that is all we think about. Right? We might engage in what they call, right, self-sabotaging behaviors like procrastinating on things, or just not, right, really falling into perfectionism and thinking like, well, I have to do it right, and if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it at all. Feelings of shame or guilt, maybe feeling like you got duped, or that like, oh, why didn't I see that before, right? That is actually part of the journey, right? And that we're feeling disillusioned, right? Maybe we're seeing these patterns that can tend to come up. Oh, okay, here's another way it's revealing itself. What happens when, I know for me, it's kind of this like, oh, when I look to other people for solutions and then I'm disappointed when they don't work for me, right? I'm really thinking about like, okay, right, I have to tune into my intuition to know what's right for me. And when I do that, right, in my own business, in my own life, then very often, right, there are things that become clear of what I want or what I want to do. And then often, right, the only thing that's kind of stopping them is me, right? Again, like running your own business, like you look around and you're like, all right, like I guess that was me. If I didn't do the thing, if it didn't happen, I'm the only one to blame. And that can feel very challenging, right? And I think that we may have had themes of that come up over the year, where we may have again put our faith in other people, or really hung our I'm trying to remember what the right like analogy or phrase is here, but like hung our hat on someone else's ideas or things like that. And that like actually, right, because maybe we were so afraid that it wouldn't go right, or that like, oh, I'm afraid to do it on my own because what if I don't? What if I, right, what if no one likes it? That it felt hard to hold on to that potential that we may have put off things for a long time. Again, like this wasn't actually last year or in 2025 necessarily, but in 2024, I spent like 6 months, maybe even more, being like, I want to start a podcast. I want to talk about tarot. I have so many thoughts and feelings, and I want to just dive into all the things, and I want to do it in this platform where I share things with other people, and I want them to see how I do tarot and find their own way of doing it. And I was so interested in it. But for a long time, I was like, oh, I need a co-host. I have to have someone else to do it with me. I can't just do this on my own. I'm not an expert. What do I know about tarot? What do I know about podcasting? I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I've been guests a couple of times. Maybe like six, like a handful of times over the last like 10 years. And like I said, I'm a rampant listener of podcasts. I love podcasts. There's podcasts I've been listening to for 20 years, which is wild. But I just had this idea that, oh, like I need someone else to do it. And when I kind of finally tuned into myself at the end of 2024 and knew like, okay, no one was like coming through the woodwork to offer like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. I kept kind of asking others that I know are into tarot, and people were not interested or not kind of like picking up what I was putting down. And so when I finally like tuned into myself and in a meditation at the end of 2025, I had this like revelation of like, I want to talk about everyday tarot, which is like that you can do tarot all the time. It doesn't have to be a ritual. It doesn't have to be this big thing. You can make it an everyday thing. And I know I sort of played on that word by talking about we're also, I was putting out the podcast every day, Monday through Friday. But yeah, I guess that's kind of what's coming up for me is that, right, I thought the journey would be this straight thing, or I thought that, oh, I could only do this with someone else. But now, as I'm very near at the end of 2025, I'm like, look at this. Like, this is episode 260 that I've mostly done by myself, right? I've had a couple guests. I obviously have Kitty, my social media manager and such, helping do graphics and help me with the show notes sometimes. But beyond that, like these are, I use books as resources and decks and other folks that do tarot, but other than that, like I was the one driving this. I was the one that set this wild goal to put out an episode every day, Monday through Friday. And lots of people were like, why are you doing that to yourself? Like you're gonna start a podcast and before you even like do it, you're gonna commit to doing it every day, Monday through Friday. Like you're gonna get burned out. And I was very adamant of like, I want to do it. Like I think I can make that happen. And so I think that right now when I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, there were some fears about like, can I do that? Like, how do I do it? And then it kind of was just like, I'll just do it. And then you'll figure it out along the way. Okay, so for prompt 3, it was where do you need to step back for a moment to get the full picture? What are you forcing instead of slowing down and making a careful decision? And this one's making me laugh because it says the coming of winter. And this one I pulled upright. It says, it comes in lullabies deep within your mirrored flesh. Alas, it is time to lay your quivering chest upon the winter's coming. And this makes me laugh because the question is like, where do you need to step back to look at the full picture? What are you forcing instead of slowing down? I'm like, that's what winter is all about, right? It's reflection on the prior year. It's reflection on the harvest or the gardening season or farming, if you practice any of those things. It is reflection on the higher energy months of the year or cycles. Right, literally in this episode today, we are stepping back to look at the full picture of the year, right? Instead of maybe forcing saying like, this is what we learned, this is what we did, right? We're allowing, in some ways, the tarot to inform our view on how we saw the year and perhaps give us some insights on making decisions for the future, right? I know, again, for me, like I will be talking more in depth about the future of this podcast, and I have some ideas about that, and I'm still allowing myself to marinate, as I've said earlier, about on like what do I want to do? Like the vision for this year was very clear to me. I want to do 13 episodes, seasons. I want to have seasons. They're all going to have different themes. I'm going to have guests eventually. I'm going to just record audio for a while and just I'm going to show the cards because that's really important to me. I'm going to reference the artists and whoever created the deck because that's important to me. And I know for like the coming year, I'm kind of like, I have some ideas, but I don't the vision is not as clear right now. And I think I'm trying to allow that again, like because I am in the season of winter, literally in the Northern Hemisphere, that like things will unfold again. Like I have some ideas, I have some intentions, I will be sharing those. And right, this is telling me like, slow down, you don't need to have all the answers yet. And we want to make careful decisions, right? We want to be intentional. And that maybe there were things throughout this year where it felt like they're not happening fast enough again, or kind of like it's not what I pictured, or it's not the reward that I thought it would be. You know, I did this thing and I thought it would feel good, but it didn't. Then maybe again, there's some pivoting that might need to happen. But I just welcome you to take your time in seeing that and not force it. Again, this time of year, there's a lot of talk of New Year's resolutions and what are you going to do and what are your goals and this or that. And in the Northern Hemisphere, like we are in true winter now for the next 3 months. And so actually, this is our time to really reflect, and this is our time to think about the prior year and what things we liked, what things we didn't, and what we want to change for the new year. All right, for prompt number 4, it says, what is something you might need to ask for help with? And I drew the altar upright. It says, a sacred devotion, a worship skin, deep rising from the ash, the waters you keep. And I love this image. It's like that outdoor altar with leaves in the background and this beautiful arch. And it's almost like there's this table with pumpkins, and we see a skull and some candles and like a mortar and pestle and some crystals. It looks very much like my altar behind me, except for mine's inside, but you know, a variety of things. We got a candle going, we got some incense, they have a bell on here. I don't have that, but I have crystal glass and some water, like having all your things. So what's something you might need to ask for help with, right? Literally, when I think of this, I'm like, oh, your altar, right? Like maybe you need to ask your guides, your ancestors via your altar, like what you need help with, like what something so upright. It's about devotion, worship, and individuality. It says the altar is a sacred space created to honor something in your practice, a space dedicated to worship and the devotion of your craft. It should not hold things that are not sacred to your energy work. It should be a place in your home where spirits of the wise gather and share their knowledge with you. If you have pulled the altar, it is because your guides are thrilled to see you making an effort. There needs to be an intention, a worshiping and space so that you can harness your energy without disruption. Either a physical space such as an altar, a metaphorical space like opening your heart, but it is even better to have both, where you can come back to your true self. Know that you have a power deep within you that needs a place to land. Your guides need a space to speak to you. They can reach you anywhere on the planet, and you can call on them at any time. Worshipping at your altar gives them an open invitation. They know they are welcome and that you are ready to receive their gifts and messages in your sacred space. So, right, this is a very literal answer here. What is something you might need to ask for help with, right? It's like it's saying, spend time with your altar. Create an altar if you don't have one. I have many altars, so this is a more, I would say, traditional one, of course, it's like behind me. I have actually a mini altar on the desk in front of me where I have crystals. I put my cards up when I'm pulling them for the show. I have some other goodies that are kind of like wellness things for me. I have altars to ancestors. I have one above me of with my pets that have passed away, with my family or grandparent members that have passed away, things that are important to me. I have actually an outdoor altar that I've started to build here that, I would love to look like this one day now that I have some space to do so. I cracked a pomegranate and put it out there the other day. And since we are in the season of winter and we were eating part of the pomegranate as part of my Christmas celebrations party I was throwing this weekend. And so also, right, there are different ways to have altars. So you can have portable altars. Some people create them in like an Altoid box, like put your little things in there. I have a mini, like a like a drawstring bag behind me that I got at my Dirty Hoe Coven retreat last year, but we had like a pen in there, we had some paper to write things, we had some matches, like kind of all the things you need to have your mini altar. So really find what works for you. Again, it could be your bedside table. It could be a more formal altar that you put things on and change out every season. I actually also have like an altar above my fireplace out there. Right now it's a very Christmassy winter altar, and it's a lot more about, maybe the sort of traditional Christmas decorations of more of Christianity. But for me, it's like Christmas trees and lights and candles and things that remind me of that season that feel right for me. I have my Christmas tree right now, which is also an altar in its own kind. But yeah, this is saying, right? Like maybe you need to set up an altar so that you can have a place for your guides to find you, to communicate with you in that way. All right, and then the final card here. So for our final prompt, we had what conflict do you need to take a break from for a bit? Which is interesting. I don't totally know what this card is related to yet. So it says crystals and herbs. Um, it says, oh, what medicine, what sacredness to behold, a dash of healing straight from mother's home. And it is upright. So let's look here. So this deck, if you listen to last season, it talks about the style of this deck. And I was gonna read from it real quick. Okay, let's see here. Anyway, they have like three, here we go. The cards are broken up into three sections: the witch's familiars, the witch tools, and the Samhain. And they're arranged in alphabetical order. Each card includes an original poem. The poems can be used in your spells, rituals, potion making, and meditations as an invocation to call in the energy of each card. So some of these, right, we talked about here are like tools. Some are familiars, right? Some more like animals, and then some are Samhain in particular, right? Like probably the coming of winter follows along their journey. So crystals and herbs, right, would be part of the witch's tools here. So we have a bit more of a literal answer. So what conflict do you need to take a break from for a bit? So crystals and herbs is associated with Earth's medicine and healing. The card is an allegory for the profound healing that comes from working with Earth's medicine. Sometimes you have to come back to the basics, Earth energy. This means touching the earth and her offerings, getting to know your crystals, herbs, essential oils, and the ground you walk on, forest bathing, or sleeping under the stars, finding a quiet stream or meadow, and speaking to your surroundings. talking to your plants, or growing new ones. Invite earth healing into your life in whatever way feels right to you, as the earth is always here for you, but like your guides, Mother Nature needs an invitation. So, right, just following like the altar card in which you need perhaps a physical space for your guides to come meet you at or communicate with you, right? Pulling crystals and herbs is an invitation to find a deeper connection with earth energy. Mother Earth is calling you home, and that healing can be found within nature's language. The earth element represents grounding, connection, stability, and strength. Nature nourishes and supports you and all things on this planet. Behold, the sacredness that is earth magic. You will feel more replenished as you develop your connection. This message is amplified if you've felt burned out, if you are sleeping but are not rested, full but still hungry, or active but not energized. This card holds even deeper meaning for you, as it signals you've lost touch with the anchoring of working with Earth's energy. This message is even more significant if you have also pulled the Rooted card or feel called to read it. So that is a different card that we did not pull. Here they talk about some crystals for Samhain. I'll read through them. Carnelian, which I know I have. I'm going to grab it. It's an orange stone, generally orange red. So this here, carnelian. A perfect choice for increasing energy and overall well-being. It encourages creativity and concentration and banishes mental fog. Very useful for calming anger and reducing feelings of depression. There's Jet, a common protection stone. Jet protects empaths from negative energy and emotional vampires. It can be used to cleanse other crystals and is a great choice for healing grief. There's Obsidian, which I don't think I have in here, but I have a big obsidian stone somewhere on my shelves over here. It's an intense and powerful stone for discovering truth and facing unresolved issues. It helps to seal the aura and cut cords with people who no longer serve your best interests or higher good. There's onyx, a black stone that is used to protect against manipulation, aggression, and bullying. It stimulates truth and honesty as well as strengthening relationships. And then for herbs for Samhain, it says a broom used in purification, protection for invoking good fortune. Garlic, hang in homes to protect from evil spirits and disease, also added to protective sachets and altars and used in exorcisms. Marigold invokes clairvoyant dreams and can be added to love spells. Mugwort, meditation, divination, and strengthening clairvoyance. Rosemary is all about mental stimulation, purity, love, and protection. Sage, purity, exorcism, protection, and spirituality. Wormwood, divination, exorcism, and protection and creativity. And yarrow, courage, commitment, healing, divination, and protection. So, what conflict do you need to take a break from for a bit? I feel like it's not an obvious answer, but what it is telling us, right, is that we need to connect with the earth energy. So perhaps it's the conflict that's existing, right, in our political system, government, maybe within you. Maybe there's conflict within you of, again, like with the coming of winter. It can be more challenging or less desirable sometimes to go outside to connect with nature. It's colder. Often we feel more uncomfortable, and a lot of the animals and plants that maybe draw us outside a lot of the year aren't there, or are hiding or hibernating, or things like that. So there can be sometimes less to look at. And sometimes that can keep us from doing some of our practices, right? It could be, normally I garden in the summer and I'm outside and my bare feet are on the earth, but in the wintertime, my bare feet are rarely on the earth. But I know for me, like it looks like taking walks to the mailbox every day. When I'm home, trying to do it in the light. Our mailbox is maybe like quarter mile down a long driveway past our neighbors' houses to the main road. And so I do that with my boyfriend. Trying to do that every day in the winter to just kind of get moving, right? It could be, right, maybe you're not picking herbs as much, but maybe you're like my mom, propagating herbs inside, or maybe you have some dried herbs that have been hanging since summer, and maybe it's time to take them down and use them. I still have some herbs where I live. It doesn't get too cold to kill them all in the winter. So my rosemary is still going, my mint is still going, my sage is still going, there's some thyme going, things like that. And so maybe it's using what you have available to you, right? And not, right, crystals and herbs are also part of like a witch's practice often. And so, right, maybe this is also saying like, you're feeling burned out. And sometimes when we're feeling burned out, we withdraw from everything. Again, maybe we stay indoors more. We maybe aren't doing our normal like habits or practices as much. But this card is saying, right, like that if you've lost touch with the anchoring of working with earth energy, maybe you're feeling very again, like burned out after holidays or just having a lot of people over or a lot of sensory stimulation, doing things that are grounding to you, which again could be like you're gonna make soup because like you're gonna use some root vegetables to make soup, and that's grounding and connecting you to the earth. We made a turkey soup yesterday. We made a turkey for our Christmas celebration this year and have a lot left over. So we make like a chicken noodle soup, but a turkey noodle soup. And that's really good and nourishing, right, in winter, using all those veggies and any meat that you have, some fresh herbs to really brighten it up. Like those are some ways to connect with the earth energy in a warm, nourishing way that sometimes can feel challenging again in winter. So I think that's kind of what this card is about. Again, maybe some of the conflict is also like internal, like, oh, it doesn't look like I'm going out and again, doing whatever you normally do in other times of year, like let's pick some like low effort connection with the earth, right? It could literally be like, I'm gonna go outside for 5 minutes and like get some sunlight in my eyes or, on my body. I'm gonna, for me as someone that has some farm animals, I'm gonna go out and give them some treats, right? Because that gets me outside for at least a couple minutes and brings some joy to my day and to theirs, most likely. But yeah, just thinking of what can you do right now that is nourishing to you, connecting with earth energy, even if other things don't feel available. That it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. You can do a little bit as well. All right, so those are our main cards from things that we learned this year, right? So we're transforming, we are letting go of some of our ideas about what the journey should look like. We are welcoming in winter and slowing down. We are still, maintaining or creating our altars as a space for communication and intention. And we're using the things we have, perhaps crystals and herbs or other tools, to still connect with nature, with the earth, with the material realm in which we live, and doing right things with our body and nourishing ourselves, or still doing things with our hands and connecting in that way. So I think the overall message, right, feels fairly clear of like all of those things that yes, we are in transformation. We are surrendering to some of the process. We are allowing ourselves to slow down and not get burned out, or maybe we're working ourselves out of burnout. I know I talked about it on the podcast a bit, but I was fairly burned out in like October, I think. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, probably about then or like early November because I had moved at the beginning of September and we'd kind of gotten all settled in basically by like Thanksgiving or by like mid-November. We were selling our house and we were in the new place and we were kind of finally settling in. And my body did that thing that happens like if you've ever experienced like, oh, you like have a big test coming up and then when it's finally over you like get sick or like it felt like that like we finally sold the house, that was all done and we kind of got to like take a breath for a moment and then I was like, oh, I am very tired. So I've been practicing some of these things as well. All right, so finally I'm going to dive in and pull another card to see what message the cards have for us today on this topic. I'm going to pull this time from the Norse Goddess Rune Oracle here by Rebecca Joy Stark, artwork by Sharon McLeod, and yeah, that's who created these. All right, I'm just going to pull one card to see if there's anything else to share with us today. I pulled a number 17, Naudis, the goddess Nana, about constraint, need, and restriction. Okay. She's here on the shoreline. I don't think I've pulled this one before. I don't remember it at least. Oh, goddess Nana. So I am Nana, goddess of joy. Baldir is my husband, Forseti my boy. My light is taken, constrained by my grief. May Naudis break your bonds and bring relief. So Naudis is the rune. You can see it here in the corners. It's like an X, sort of, but like on the tilt. So almost like a cross, but the middle line is tilted here in goddess Nana. So let's see. Nana, goddess of joy and happiness, yet renowned for her grief. Nana is beloved mother of Forseti, who takes pride in his fair and just nature. And Nana is shining beside her husband, rejoined in death to live eternally. Nana is empowering, a symbol of true love. In the prose Edda, she dies of a broken heart. The grief over the death of her husband Baldir is too much to bear. She is consumed by sadness and loss, a true symbol of undying and unwavering devotion. As Baldir is taken and to the shore and placed upon his funeral ship, Hring-Horni, Nana succumbs to her grief, and in the moment of heartbreak, she also meets death and is placed side by side with her husband. Hring-Horni is hollowed by Por, and the ship sets sail to deliver Nana and Baldir to Hel. So you can kind of see the ship in the background there. Nana symbolizes the need for companionship and the significant grief that can feel overwhelming during times of loss. Nana and Baldir are joined in Hel, living happily together in peace, only to build a brighter world after Ragnarok. While constrained by grief and heartbreak, she's a symbol of overcoming that which constrains to rebuild a brighter world filled with love and happiness. As the mother of Forseti to the god of justice, Nana knows that grief is the result of love, for one only grieves that which they've loved and lost. Here she stands in the depths of despair, soon to embark on the next phase of her journey in love. So with the divination meeting, Naudis is the rune of need and constraint. As Nana is constrained by grief and loss, this rune holds the power of emotional constraints and a need for love and compassion in times of sadness. It represents human needs described by psychologist Abraham Maslow as the basics of food, warmth, and shelter to a sense of belonging, self-worth, and love, through to self-actualization, enlightenment, and transcendence from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It steps in to bring awareness to your needs. What is it that you are lacking? What needs are as yet unfulfilled? And it brings to mind as an opportunity to explore your inner needs compared to your wants. When trapped by your desires or constrained by demands that do not fulfill you, Naudis is a powerful rune to bring back into focus what really matters. A classic example is a stressful job. You may work to fulfill the needs of home, food, warmth, and safety, yet the stress takes away your need for belonging, respect, and recognition. It acknowledges the catch-22 and helps you navigate a path forward. Is there a chance you can make so that all needs are addressed? Perhaps a new job is on the horizon, or acknowledging your stress and working to overcome the challenges may lighten the load. Nowadays also refers to a need fire, traditionally used to cleanse ill cattle by driving them through purifying smoke. Need fires were lit side by side. The cattle were guided through the smoke to remove the sickness in a similar way that incense is used in churches, witchcraft, and ancient pagan practices to ward off evil entities. This rune calls you to cleanse away what you no longer need, to purify yourself from negativity, and release what is holding you back. Perhaps a situation is constraining you. Trauma, grief, or loss can be powerful emotions that can keep you trapped. Find a way to sit with these emotions, acknowledge and respect their purpose, and send them on their way through the need fire smoke. Cleanse and heal. And I feel like that is like the perfect message for winter is like cleanse and heal. I know where I live, we don't get snowy necessarily, but it's very cold and damp in winter. It's like a high humidity aspect that really kind of like gets into your bones. And so I often in winter take a lot of baths, or sometimes we'll go to like a spa with different pools of hot water that's very nice, and do like cold plunging and sauna type of stuff, just like the Norwegians or those who live in Scandinavia have done for a long time in the cold of winter. It can be very helpful for actually to have our body go through warmth and cold as sort of like a way of regulating our body. And yeah, I just think it's interesting that, right, cleansing, we often think of, yeah, like fire, smoke, water. You can choose different types of cleansing. I mean, in a lot of places also, like lots of fires happen this time of year, hopefully intentionally, but wood stove fires or fires outside, or maybe a burning, plant matter that accumulated over the year, and now it's finally cold and wet enough that it's safe. That there's a lot of kind of um, yeah, cleansing and kind of like paring things down that happens in this season of the year. And so sometimes that, right, this card about constraint, need, and restriction is kind of like, don't do anything that you don't need to do. Like, it's okay to, at some times of year, do the bare minimum, right? That could be like, again, where I live, it's quite dark in this time of year. I think we get about 8.5 hours of sunlight. Or of daylight, not even sun. It's not very sunny where I live, except for in summer. That it can just feel like, oh, I'm supposed to do all these things. So no, I have like, it's okay to just kind of like pare things down and be like, all right, I got my puzzle. I'm making nourishing food for myself. Maybe I have a thing to read or to watch. I'm like, other than that, it's okay. I don't need to have the high energy of the summer of a lot of daylight, unless you're in the southern hemisphere, to like rule my life this time of year. This time of year is about the coming of winter, right? Is like using your resources and things that you created over this year and living off of them for a bit. And I think that coming out of burnout, we have to find new strategies as well for how to do that. All right, well, links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me at camillesaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.